He's doing okay. The shoulder, we tested it and it failed the test. A lot of pain involved. So right now he's getting a couple different things to look at. So we'll see. As we go, we'll just go day to day with Patrick. See how it's coming along.
When was this today? The test or something?
I think today and yesterday he's been having it looked at again. It's a nerve thing, so you gotta kind of go day to day.
Is that what makes it unique? The fact that it's a nerve?
I think so. I've had a lot of linebackers I've coached are in and out of the shoulder. The shoulder's kind of an issue with linebackers a lot of times. It's a wild card. What kind of injury is.
Chip said multiple times that Cedric Thornton has been the best defensive lineman so far. When you got here, what did you expect out of him? He not had much of a pedigree before this.
Yeah, Cedric has really come along and grown well. I didn't expect much because there wasn't much on him. I didn't have much history with him. But he comes to work every day with the same attitude. He's all in every day, and every game he's had the most contacts at the ball. That a defensive lineman, when you get contacts at the ball, that's what really the production comes from, and he's got more than a share of getting to the football, which is what we're trying to get all of.
It seems like his pass rush is a work in progress, and sometimes it can be decent. If he can add that more, are we looking at what's his pass rush? It seems like as a run,
the run is what he does the best. Stop the run, and his big, solid, square body in there, and his pass rush is growing and growing. As we continue to move forward, and there's different kinds of pass rushers. There's the Vinny Currys that are edges and really good penetration. Then there's the Cedrics that get a little more power and push. Either way, they're both moving the pocket back, and it's harder to block. The different styles. And when we rotate them in, that offensive lineman has to continually switch between Cedric's particular pass rush, Vinny's particular pass rush, Fletcher's pass rush. Those inside guys. So our rotation benefits us in a way. Different styles.
It seems like Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is it overstating it to say, look at that Cedric could play and say he's playing at as high a level of alignment?
He's playing well, and I didn't even think that was one of Cedric's better games. I thought Cedric was good, but I think he's had some more productive games. But I'm very impressed with Cedric at movement and production.
It seemed like Fletcher Cox got going in that game. What did you see out of him?
Fletcher had his best game of the year, and we needed it, and it showed. And he put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, disrupted the throwing motion of the quarterback often. A lot of those holding calls where they couldn't block. So that's we benefited from his game that he had. We get him to play like that every week. We'll keep moving forward.
What has his sort of attitude been like this entire season? Obviously, changing schemes this year, had a successful rookie season. Has it been difficult for him to adapt to these two gap concepts?
He's the one that could answer that but from my vantage point, I have seen nothing but him all in and diving into the techniques we're asking him to do. Now, if you ask him and he tells you something different on the side, I don't know that side of it. I just watch every day's work ethic and what you do and how, are you moving forward in the techniques I'm asking you to do? And the answer is yes.
Bill, with Witten, the tight end, and of course Wyatt and Austin, is this as difficult a trio as you face with maybe depth in the other team?
Absolutely. They've got great weapons and a quarterback that knows how to distribute, and that's really what you come against the big passing offenses. Quarterback that can get the ball to playmakers, and the other part of that is having the playmakers, and Dallas is loaded with playmakers.
Third and long is still an issue for this defense in getting off the field. When you look back at the film from Sunday, what did you see broke down, and how do you fix it?
I couldn't believe it. The quarterback ran for 15 yards on the one call. We were doubling 83 out there, so we had a double coverage on the guy that went to the most. The rush just lost sight of him, and I really wouldn't have thought that he could have got the first, but he did. And that was one of those ones that they made a good play, and we couldn't get to him before he hit the 15. But overall, we continue to work on it. Early on, there were some zones that they were catching underneath, and we were missing tackles. That one was just a quarterback scramble that, with the more athletic running quarterbacks, you don't make as many of those calls, but with him, I thought we could be all right. They had to play there. The third quarter was our biggest. That long drive in the third quarter is where we broke down on third down, and it was more, you always give credit to the offense that converted them, but we could have been doing our job better, and been, if we'd have played it the correct way, we probably would have been off the field a couple times on that drive. But that's part of the game. Every game has got its share of mistakes. You got to make sure that you make less than your opponent, and on third down right now, we just have to kind of tighten the screws a little bit and make sure we get ourselves off the field, especially on third and winnable downs.
Now, Bill, you've been playing a left cornerback and a right cornerback. Why do you do that as opposed to, say, have someone follow Dez, Nathan Jackson, or the top receiver around the field?
First of all, in practice, they switch right and left, left and right. We always have the ability to follow somebody if we want to. But right now, Fletch and Carey are so similar in their builds and their styles that really, if I felt there was an advantage, I would do it. But there is a comfort zone that corners get in on their sides and who they're working with. Now, I break that comfort zone every day in practice, so they switch every day so I can do it if I want. But right now, there really hasn't been a situation to say, hey, well, this will benefit us more than just keeping them in their comfort
So,
zone.
I mean, untrained, it seems to me that Bradley Fletcher has broken up a ton of passes in his direction, and it's usually pretty tight on the receiver. You don't think he's kind of separated as right now being here?
I don't, because when you watch those same tapes, they're not throwing at Carey's guy because he's just as covered, if that makes sense. If the ball's not thrown to your guy, you're doing a pretty good job too. The ball's going a different place. And then the other part of that is when the ball does come to you, how you making your plays, and Fletch is making them. So right now, those guys are really taking a step forward. I think our press coverage is improving. It's moving forward with the techniques and the system. I think they're getting the comfort with the communication part of it, with the techniques I'm asking them to do within the calls. You know, the tiny things that I think it's hard to explain, but if they all line up and just stay still, you can execute about anything and be where you're supposed to be. It's when they start moving and shifting and motioning and things change that you've got to be able to change quickly, and we're starting to be able to change a little quicker.
Bill, what is your blueprint for trying to defend a Tony Romo? Doesn't have Michael Vick speed, but very elusive in terms of buying time to find his receiver.
I think one of the biggest things that Romo does is he extends the play. If the initial play isn't there, like a couple of quarterbacks in the league, the Roethlisbergers, they don't necessarily run to run. They run to extend the play, and the receivers do a great job of, when it breaks down, coming back to the ball, finding the opening area. So we've got to be great at finishing the broken play as far as our coverage and staying attached in coverage. That's one of the challenges, and I think the Denver game kind of showed that. They didn't stay attached all the time, and all of a sudden, because Tony will see the field. I mean, he's got vision on the whole field, and he'll find the guy that you drift off of, and we can't drift off our coverage.
How much does it change everything if DeMarco Murray is not there? He's pretty much been their primary back, only back to really get the ball.
Yeah, I think anytime you lose a weapon like Murray, and they've been using him, and he's been a great balance to their offense, I think it hurts you. Now, I don't know what answer they'll come up with. You always have to be prepared to stop that run in the run game they presented. But when you lose a playmaker, obviously it changes their outlook. We've got to find out early what that change in philosophy may be.
What'd you say on the touchdown?
Romo extends a play. He also gambles a lot with the ball into coverage. Should this give you an opportunity to fix it?
Absolutely. You know, it really comes down when you study him over time. He's either really hot or really off. And sometimes it's through the course of one single game. He'd be the first half hot, second half cold, and vice versa. So you got to play him all the way through 4 quarters. I think you've got to challenge the receivers, challenge him to find the opening, and keep moving it on him. And I think he'll make some plays. I think he'll make some mistakes.
What did you see on the film on the touchdown to a Vincent Jackson slam? Was Bradley Fletcher supposed to have help inside there?
There was a couple breakdowns on that, and it was really a group effort on that. We had a couple guys that weren't close enough to it. We talked a lot about it. We got it fixed. It was bad. I could have made a better call. We could have better coverage. It was a group thing that gave up a touchdown. We'd like to have that one back on a lot of different ways.
Is that way different if your blitzers kind of, it looks like they got suckered by the play action a little bit?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. We had an unblocked player at the quarterback, but again, the techniques I'd asked him to do, chase the run first and then contain the pass second. You know, he was doing what he was told. So I take full responsibility for that one. We tweaked some of the techniques there, but we could have been better all the way around on that play.
As a coordinator in other places, do you ever remember quarterback in question as you're going into the week, you don't know who's going to start? And if so, what kind of problems did that create for you as a coordinator?
It does give you a problem. For instance, last year in Cleveland, we were going to face Washington after RG3 was hurt, and they did a nice job of not knowing which one we were going to get, Cousins or RG3, and we played a lot from the read option and all that. Spent a lot of practice time doing that, and then all of a sudden we got Kirk Cousins, and it wasn't that plan at all. So you took a lot of your reps away. So it really makes you split your preparation for the week, because you've got to prepare for both. You can't read into anything. You've got to make sure that you're ready for all scenarios. And when you have two drastically different quarterbacks, it does cut your preparation in half.
They talk a lot here about how these guys are both effective, but would that be a problem for you because they do just similar things?
I would say yes. I would answer that question.
Are you getting enough pass rush pressure from your outside linebacker, particularly Trent Cole?
Yeah, Trent has got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He's when you break down the film, he is getting chips and he's getting attention, and sometimes that opens for other people. But right now, I think our pass rush, the sacks will come in bunches. I think Trent will have a breakout game, and you'll see the work that he's put in, and I think that'll happen with our defensive line in general. I think we're getting close. We've had a couple games in a row with intentional groundings and different interceptions. Again, it's a quarterback's choice. When I'm under duress, do I throw it away? Do I throw it into coverage, or do I take the sack? And right now, quarterbacks are choosing the other, but those sacks will come. I think the guys are getting closer and closer.
You've made a concerted effort to take away the deep ball this year. You've done a good job of it. What impact does that have on Ryan's and Eric's coachability in front of the secondary?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is we're not giving up those deep ones, and that's what one of the main goals was. But the intermediate ones now we've got to tighten down on. The ones that are getting the 15 to the 25, that intermediate coverage, I do believe the guys are getting a better understanding of the deep to short and coming up. And then when they do take the check down, again, those are in zones. If I want to take everybody, put a body on a body, I'll go to the mans. But right now, I think we're growing in the direction of getting tighter in the intermediate part of our zones, and that's what has to be.
Bill, is it fair to say that you've been more aggressive as a play caller down the stretch of the last two games compared to what you were earlier in the season when you had some leads?
You know, I don't know. I look at the amount of pressures, and it really changes by what's kind of hitting, what their answer to the pressure is. Are they keeping it more into block? Are they chipping? Are they giving us free access? Are they turning the line? Are they opening up A gaps? There's so many things that go into what they're doing to make the decision on do we add the extra pressure or do we fall back with the extra coverage. And I think the game is dictated probably more than just lately I've made a conscious change. You know, that second half, there's so many adjustments and you've kind of seen what they're doing. So now you have to make sure that you're applying the right calls and pressure calls or don't pressure to what their answer is to what you've been given.
Billy, I don't know if you faced the receiver as good as Doug as Brian's playing right now. You know, obviously Doug gets away. How do you stop a guy like that?
Well, he's a heck of a challenge. I mean, he's got the size, speed, athleticism. We faced a couple of them. But we've got to be great with our one-on-one matchup of both corners. Fletcher and Carey have to be great in their individual coverage on because you can't double the guy every play. So they'll have plenty of times where they've got to just handle that, and then we'll get help to them and zone over the top of them and use all the different tools to help when you stop the star receiver.
Do they move him around a lot?
Excuse me?
Do they move him around a lot?
Yeah, they'll move around a little bit. They keep him moving. They've got a couple of weapons, though, and that's the biggest challenge. As soon as you give attention there, now you got Witten. You give attention to Witten and him, now you got Austin. It's just there's a lot of moving parts that we've got to account for.
Two more guys.
And so with Chung's uncertainty, you put the game plan together, just presuming it's Wolf and Allen back there full time.
Yes, I really in this philosophy of this defense is the next man's got to step up and handle the scheme, and whatever safeties we have active, they're responsible for it. I'm not gonna cut back because of the young guy in or not, because at this point in time, you know, he's held responsible for knowing all of it, and I'm not gonna change and affect the rest of it. For something, I'll go as fast as the top group can handle the scheme, and we'll stay there. We won't slow it down. And he's done a nice job so far. I mean, there's mistakes in every game, and he's no more or less than anybody else.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.